to be here. As I was sitting back, listening to the stories of how this company came about, who we are, what we do, and more importantly, as you witness the stories that the people have shared on stage and the impact that we're making to this world, I want to thank you for coming here today. Because today is what? Is it Monday or Tuesday here in Malaysia? Tuesday here in Malaysia. And a work day in the afternoon. We have about, what, 500 people in this room. Why? Thank you for showing up. As we were embarking on this tour, this is our very first Star Makers Academy. I call it Academy because most of us spend our whole lifetime learning in schools and universities and college or whatever conventional training. I call it Academy because learning is not only by reading books or memorizing things that people taught us. Life is about to be lived. An academy is life is about experiential. The best learning you can ever get is an experiential journey. And so as we were preparing for this very first academy, I thought of how could I be of service? What experience, what are some of the things I could contribute to this 4-country tour that we're doing? And so before this tour, I actually spent a couple of days in Japan. I went to one of the oldest cities in Japan, in Kyoto. And as I was pondering, thinking about this entire tour, we were so busy planning the details and the lineup, the agenda, that we can offer to our fellow communities around the world. So that came when I was in Kyoto. I think the best way to share is to document and share with you what I've gone through my last 31 years in this space. 31 years of not only in business, but 31 years of cultivating, learning, growing, stretching to become who I am here today. So today what I'd like to share with you is a PowerPoint that we prepared it. And this is my first time doing this in English. So are you ready for this presentation? All right, so what we're here to talk about here today is an impact entrepreneur's journey. Now, to be an entrepreneur, there are many entrepreneurs in different forms and shapes. Many of you are already entrepreneurs. You do a business, you went out and make money. But the word that we chose, and if you saw some of the t-shirt that we put on the back of the t-shirt, is impact entrepreneur. You know, entrepreneur, you're about going to make some money and make some small impact amongst families and offering jobs. But to be an impact entrepreneur, so in order for you to be successful, you have to go out there and make a positive impact. That's what I've done for the last 31 years. And as you look at this PowerPoint, I'm going to share with you some of my journeys, some of my stories. And I hope to impart through this experience that you get a glimpse of what life can be for you and your family. So with that, how many of you like this little girl with a little cape? How many of you like that? You know, look, this is truly imagination. How many of you, when you were young, when you were a child, you have that vision? I mean, this is obviously a girl. When you can imagine, if you're a man, you're a boy, imagine yourself as a little boy. We all have those superhero thoughts when we're younger. We want to go change the world. We want to be somebody. We have that. And so I chose this picture because it is so well articulated. It doesn't matter what gender you are. It's so well articulated that you standing with the outlook at the horizon with a little cape. Because most of us watch television, watch movie. You know, who wears those capes? Superhero. If I were to tell you each and every single one of you have a superhero inside of you, how many of you believe that? Maybe perhaps after the presentation, after this talk, then you'll dig deep and say, you know what? I too am a superhero. The mere fact that you're living on earth right now, that in of itself is a miracle. I believe we chose to come in a time like this, With all that we have experienced, especially the last 4 years, not only in one country, it was a global phenomenon. But we chose to come in a time like this to shift, to have make that impact. With that, let's get started. The so-called the ordinary world, the world that we're born into. Seemingly, when we were born, we just kind of like stored at mommy's tummy for 9 months, and then boom, we came out. And then you look around you like, what is happening? This world that we're living in, seemingly at the beginning, called the ordinary world. With the ordinary world, most of us have gone through this path. All of us will be on this journey, on the superficial layer, on the outside level. You know, we went from a little baby crawling, learning how to crawl, then walk. Then if you see the second stage, we begin to go to school, get our education. I read somewhere that for the first 7 years of our life, that's how we've been programmed. All the conditioning, all the stuff that we're being taught about this world, the ordinary world. Then as after our education, then we went out there to society. Then we went out and work. And you know, guess what? When you go out and work in a workspace, how many of you work a job? Show of hands. Have a job. Or had a job. When you had a job, you know, you're supposed to show up at a certain time, right? You're supposed to go to lunch at a certain time. Then you go home at a certain time. True or not true? That's a form of programming. And also because of we're in society now. You meet with your peers, you understand what the norm is, what is acceptable by society, what is not. Then as we go on this journey, you know, when most societies say, you know what, it's time to start a family. When you get to a certain age, you start a family, you have children, right? Then the next phase is what? We go on, you know, some of us are empty nesters. I think Tina, Frida, we'll all share about that. And after kids grow up, then we grow old. And this is a journey that we all go through. Seemingly, it's like a wheel. No one can escape that seemingly on the outside. You know, I'm 59 years old. And I'm at a point in my life where I've gone through that. I started this industry when my boy was very, very, well, actually I started this industry before I was married, before I had a kid. And then when my son was very young, I came back to this industry. And I could tell you, now my son is 20 years old. Some of you met my son when my son was a little baby, holding on my leg when I was on stage talking. And recently, I got to experience something that really get a little deeper meaning, a little taste of this life cycle. My father, who's 97, almost 98 years old, my father had a fall. He broke his head. So I took him home. And it was at that time that we were launching 3. And I moved my dad to one of my other homes that I haven't lived for a long time. So I moved out of my home to stay with my father in a home that he wanted to stay in. And that's the time when I started launching 3. I watched my dad had to walk everywhere with a walker. And I stayed in the home for almost 1 year with my dad because I didn't want my dad to be in an elderly home while launching the business. And I could tell you, there are times I want to go see my son in college, but I was kind of stuck at home to take care of my father. And one time I went to college to see my son, because my son was staying at the university. And when I went to university, he was studying at USC. When I went to university, I saw all these children were full of energy, full of hope. Their outlook in life was bright, was exciting, like the whole world is in front of them. And then when I got home, watching my dad, and I was right in the dead smack middle of the life cycle, kind of. And I thought, wow, On one side of the spectrum, the elderly, it's just waiting. So from there, I learned it is not about your lifespan. It's about your health span. So what you're living, what vitality, what are you getting? And on the other side, the younger generation, full of hope. And watching both spectrums of life, I was in the middle. I said, wow, this thing called life. This thing called life. Is there any deeper meaning to that? Let's go explore. With that, let's kind of look at our daily life cycles. And this is all universal to us. In that, all of us, we wake up in the morning. Some people woke up by the alarm clock. They set the alarm clock as they go to work. I actually, for a long, long time, I never had to use an alarm clock. Recently, because we're hopping in different countries, I have to set an alarm clock. So most people wake up in the morning, then what do? They go to work, then what do? After work, they go home. After they go home, what do? They go to sleep. What do they do the next morning? Get up, go to work, go home, go to sleep. Get up, go to work, go home, go to sleep. Get up, go. That cycle just never stops, like a treadmill. A treadmill, like you get on a treadmill of life, you get on, you just walk. There's no off button. How many of you live this cycle? How many of you work a job? Show of hand again. How many of you have your own business? Show of hand. How many of you would not raise your hand no matter what I ask? So this daily cycle of life, how many of you ever say, stop? What's happening? Do I want to do this entire cycle, the daily life cycle, to live that cycle of life? I don't know how many years I'm blessed to live. Maybe, this daily life cycle, when we get to age 80, 90, what have we done? So sometimes it takes somebody to sort of tap your shoulder and say, hello, there might be something more. So maybe today's event, whoever invited you here, is a little tap on your shoulder and say, you know what? Let's stop this samsara, this cycle. Stop. Many people investigate stuff. Why don't we investigate our life purpose? Investigate our daily life. Why are we here? Because when you pause for a second, you say, you know what? Is there more to life than this daily grind? Is there more to life than this treadmill of life? Because when you begin to question, the universe answers. When you begin to ask questions, the universe will answer. And guess what happens? You perhaps got that phone call. The call to adventure. Now, underneath that caller ID, who's calling you? 3. Now, in Malaysia, we really had a big hit, a movie called The Matrix. In Malaysia, how many saw the movie, The Matrix? Oh, how many friends that saw the movie The Matrix? In the movie The Matrix, there was a blue pill and a red pill. And allow me to explain it. For those of you that haven't watched it, I really, really suggest you watch that incredible movie. When you get that phone call, you have the choice of saying, listen, that's awesome, thank you, but no thank you. That's like taking the blue pill. Say, you know what, no thank you, I'm gonna go back to my norm. I'm gonna go back to my daily cycle. Get up, go to work, go home, sleep. Get up, go to work, go home, and go sleep. Or, some people say, you know what? There might be more in life. I'm willing to investigate. I'm willing to explore. Then you take that red pill. That red pill, you're going to begin a journey. You're going to enter a special space when you answer that call. And once you answer that call, you're going to begin to step into what I call a special world. You're going to beginning to step away from the ordinary world that we were all programmed, that we were all conditioned to have known until this point. So what is that special world? That special world is a journey to self-discovery, and more importantly, when you're willing to walk that path, you'll begin to do self-mastery. That superhero that I know that exists within each and every single one of you. It's about self-mastery. And this journey of self-discovery and self-mastery, it is an inner voyage. It is an inside. You know, how many of you heard the saying that says success is an inside job? How many of you heard that? So that journey is an inner voyage. As I'm going to go over this presentation, you get more out of it. And that, yes, it is an inner voyage. It's an inner journey that you have to work through. You have to work through in breaking the patterns, in breaking the conditioning. And yet, it is an external adventure. So when you're beginning, when you're brave enough to answer that call, you're going to go into a journey of self-discovery. And as you embark on this journey, perhaps the first thing you encounter, well, when you say yes to it, that it will spark some of your goals, some of your dreams when you were younger. And when you embark on this journey, you have these hopes and dreams that spark begin to come alive. Then you something sparked it in you, activated in you. Then as you step back into the ordinary world, and guess what? You start sharing with people your dreams and your goals. You will be challenged and tested. Why? Because as you come back to the ordinary world, that most people are being trained and being programmed, are being conditioned. The conditioning and programming are meant to make us small and keep us small. As you go and talk to people, they were like, no. You took the red pill. You've been smoking something. You got brainwashed. And yet most people will not say, you know what have you been your entire life up to this point being brainwashed? Because most people will say, you know what, this is all we have known and all they ever knew up to this point. So if you will go out and tell people about something new, something different, they will say no. They will say you are different because you are. You are beginning to break away. In life, what we've been conditioned is that it's much easier to conform. But this life is not about to conform. It's about to transform. How many of you want to transform your life? How many of you want to transform? 要改变你的命运，谁要？要。To transform, you gotta be willing to be tested and to be challenged. My 31 years in this platform, it doesn't matter where I go. I've spoken to over 50 countries, different people, different. But you know, there's one common thread in this industry. Is this: as you go out and talk to people, and most people don't understand why do they quit. When something is so good, why? When they got challenged, when they got tested, why did they quit? And it was when this came to mind when I was in Kyoto, Japan. Is that most people, when you truly understand this picture, and the reason why I did this picture like a storybook, so you can really get it, because human beings have a better ability to absorb stories. When you understand in everything you do in life, there's actually two parts. One part is the person that's experiencing what's happening, experiencing the events, the experiencer. But there's another part that's happening that most people are not aware of. And that other part is the observer. In this picture, What I wanted to talk to, who I want to talk to, is the observer part of you. When you go out there and talk with people, share with people your goals and dreams, share with people your excitement, when they don't see it, you as the observer, I hope you get this. It's because most people have been programmed and to accept what they have known all their lives. And here you are, bringing new concept, new ideas. That when they say no, you as an observer understand, now I get it. Because you have stepped away from the crowd. So this is all about the experiencer and the observer. When you understand the difference, this is about meeting your experience at where they're at. A lot of people take the context or the contents of their experience, they don't know how to put it into a context. So the experience that some of you are going through, the challenges you're going through, that's just content. But when you understand this, the programming, the conditioning, that you now know as an observer, know how to put it into context of what you're experiencing. Second, as you go on this journey of self-discovery, that most of us will go through, a thing called fear. Now, how the fear came about? I'm of the belief that fear came from all our years of conditioning, education, societal, parents, grandparents, all these paradigms, some work, some were true, some are not true, that are passed upon us. It kind of formed the conditioning, the programming, kind of formed a spider web. And we kind of trapped in that spider web. What are some of the things that kept us in fear? Resistance. When you get rejection, when people that you love, family that you love, people you care about, colleagues that you respect, when they resist what you're sharing with them, then most people will step back into the fear mode. And going back to the spider web, I said, you know what, maybe it's much more comfortable for me to get back to the old conditioning. The other fear is insecurities. As you talk to other people, some people worry about what they'll say about you. It's not easy, especially when people that you love, they didn't see what you saw. They don't have the same vision that you did. And they try to talk you out of it. When you're not grounded, then we can become insecure. Or maybe I made the wrong decision. Maybe this is not me. Maybe this is not for me. And the third part, the biggest part that fear comes from, it's the unknown. Because all of our lives, we've been conditioned and taught what's known. Think about this. When I was 14 years old, Mom and Dad took 4 girls. I'm number 2 of 4. Took us from Los Angeles, from Hong Kong. Gave up everything. Mom and Dad had to borrow money to buy airfare tickets with only $2,000 in their pockets. A family of 6 went to America. We were living in a 1-bedroom apartment. For the first 30 days, Dad had no job. We were too young to work. We went to high school in America. We had no money for furniture. 4 girls would sleep in a blanket in one room. I think it was in the living room, because it was only 1 bedroom. Mom and Dad had a bedroom. And all we could buy, all we could afford to save the Mom and Dad to save money was a tube of frozen meat. Back in those days, we had a market called Safeway. We had a tube of frozen beef. And we had rice, of course, being Chinese, right? And that was our diet for the first 30 days in America. And I often would question Mom, why did you uproot us? I didn't like it. Why did you bring us to America when we didn't know anything, didn't know anybody? Mom and Dad said, you know what? We want you to have a good opportunity for education. Because if we stay in Hong Kong, I would never have the opportunity to attend university. So, Mom and Dad will always say, this is what you do. Get a good education, get a good job, have a golden rice bowl, 金饭碗. My fellow Chinese, do you know what 金饭碗 means? 知不知道金饭碗？多少人知道这个概念 ？How many people, my fellow Chinese, Asians, okay? How many people know the concept called 金饭碗, golden rice bowl? Golden rice bowl is one of the programming. Golden rice bowl is security. It's known. 有保障，对不对？好了，找一份好的工作啊，早九晚五，每天的好好干活 ，get a good education, work， 然后65岁 ，when you get to age 65，干啥？退休。过去65岁的人，这边那边老人家啊，现在不一样啊。过去65岁的人怎么样 ？How do they walk at 65? Most people back in the old days, at 65, how do they walk? My grandmother, they were supposed to retire. That was a program. That was what's known. I watched my mom and dad work so hard their whole life in America. My mom and dad worked so hard because there's 4 daughters to feed. My mom and dad, all those years working in America, never called in sick for one day. Can you imagine working in America 20, 30 years and never call in sick, not even one day? When they had a cold, they had to show up to work. When they had a fever, they had to show up to work because there's 4 girls to feed. I told myself, I do not ever want to be in that spot. Not only myself, I want to get my parents out of that spot. I want to get my parents out of that condition. So I refuse to accept that model called what's known, what we were supposed to do in life. Was it scary to step into the unknown? In the beginning, yes. Success wasn't known. Was it guaranteed that you're going to make a ton of money? Was it guaranteed to be successful? No. And sometimes it took something to happen to really make that pivot. About 31 years ago, I was at the height of my corporate career. I was a vice president for a supplement company. That company we were manufacturing, selling to Whole Foods, all the natural health food stores. In America, we had a company called Whole Food, Mothers, Sprouts, and we were selling to doctor offices. And I was a vice president for that company. And I worked very hard. That's all I knew, my whole life. Work hard, work hard, work hard. I'm a workaholic. Then one day, the boss flew in, I was laid off. I didn't know what to do. I had no job. All I did was for the first month, I would go to Starbucks. I was so afraid to tell my parents that I got fired. Not because of wrongdoing, but I got fired. I didn't know what to do, no job. So the only place I could go back in those days was Starbucks Coffee, a coffee shop. I would go there and crank out resume. Back in those days, it wasn't email, it was mailing resumes, cranking out and mailing resumes. And then at nighttime, after work hours, I would go home. I remember my mom saying, are you working in coffee, do you work in a coffee factory or what? You smell like coffee. Then I got into this industry. It was unknown. When I first got into it, I didn't know what could be. I remember it sparked a hope and dream for me in the very beginning, but I didn't know what I could make of it. So as I went out there, started talking to my friends, people that I went to UCLA with. I went to UCLA, I went to UC Irvine. I started sharing this with my colleagues. And some people I work in a Fortune 500 company with. I started sharing with people that I know. They all say, Kim, 你疯掉了. You've gone mad. You've been unemployed too long. You got into what? You drank the Kool-Aid. Who do you think you are, Kim? You have an accounting degree. You don't know how to sell. You don't know how to marketing. It was unknown. So I went back and asked my sponsor. I said, is this industry real? I said, can people really make money here? And he says, of course. He said, I'm making money. But I said, but that's fine, I know you, but that's fine, because you're my sponsor, but I want to know other people. What's the most you can make in this industry? I remember this like 31 years ago. He says, the iconic figure back in those days. He goes, the top money earner in this industry makes about $1 million a month. I go, wow. Keep in mind, I was 28. I go, wow, $1 million a month. Then the accounting side of me kicked in. Wait, $1 million a month, it's only $12 million a year. Ain't it funny? Keep in mind, I was broke, right? I'm like, oh, it's only 12 million. Oh, it's $1 million a month. So, but because of that, somehow, somewhat, it planted a seed. A seed of possibility. So whenever I was down, I was in this unknown world. I said, well, if somebody can make $1 million a month, I could do that. Back in those days, I said to myself, forget about making $1 million a month. If I can make 10,000, it will help me solve a lot of problems. So I went at it, and I went at it, and I went at it. Guess what? You know what it takes like to make $1 million a month? Not 1 month, but month after month after month, year after year. How many want to know how it feels like? You guys are all quiet. 大家想知道每个月赚100万1个月美金，感觉是怎么样的？谁说爽？In the beginning, it was pretty like surreal, right? I really had to pinch myself. Before the week's over, it's like, my goodness, $250,000 in your bank every week, $250,000. 300,000, $250,000. Every week. I didn't know that when I went to the bank, I was famous. I didn't know. They go, later on, I got to know the manager, the branch. When I walked in, they go, that's her. That's her. Oh, what's the big deal? So, it was very surreal in the beginning. I really had to pinch myself. Is this real? It's about having the courage to tap into the unknown. 3, this company called 3. It was a huge unknown at the end of 2022. It's a huge unknown. It was just a calling came. Then a group of us got together. We want to do something meaningful. We want to be the beacon of light. Not only for this industry, but really to spread hope and bring hope to people around the world. Because I witnessed what happened the last 4 years. I was hoping and praying for a line of products that will help mitigate some of the damage that I've done the last couple of years. It was unknown, and with that mission, there was tens of thousands of people that said yes to the opportunity before we even had a name, before we even had a product, before we had a compensation plan. So who in here, do we have anybody in this room that said yes to this opportunity before you knew the name of this company? Would you raise your hand, please? Look at the people. Look at the people in this room. These are brave heroes that they are willing to step into the unknown. With the unknown, we are now together manifesting what is known. But what is known now will be a lot bigger a year from now, 2 years from now. Because together, collectively, we're making this incredible movement. And sometimes, often in this journey, when you encounter insecurities, when you encounter challenges, when you get a little fearful in the unknown, it would trigger things in us. That fear would trigger stuff in us, trigger some of the old traumas, the old dramas. But there's a way for us to break free from it all. Don't let those dramas and trauma. You will meet people that at first they say yes to you, they get so excited, they go, yes, I see hope. A week later, you don't even see them. Some people, a few hours later, they got so triggered, they begin to throw stuff in their own dreams. They begin to talk themselves out of a dream. Why? Programming. Fear. 是？中国人是不是很喜欢打功夫的？是不是？打功夫是不是有精神的？In order for you to fight Kung Fu, you have to have the spirit. In Chinese, we call it 精神。精神。精神 for what? 精神 for who you can be. 精神 for your dream. Anytime, 任何时候，你接受到挑战的时候，你要想起这个 Kung Fu girl. If you're a man, Kung Fu boy. If you don't know what it is, Kung Fu panda. Just have the bravery. Fighting for what? Fighting and living the best version of yourself. If you are sick and tired of this samsara, sick and tired of this wheel, this karmic wheel, well, you know what? We can break free from it. Question for you is, do you have that courage? 有没有这个精神？有没有这个勇气来 find a way? Find your way. Everybody have different experience in life, different sets of programming, different things. Because the content of your experience might be different than mine. So therefore, you gotta find your way. When you're brave enough to go out there, like Kung Fu, first thing you gotta do is you're in Kung Fu. 最重要是什么？打功夫，这叫什么？扎马步。扎马 I don't know how to say it in Mandarin. You're grounded, your feet firmly planted. If you are not planted firmly, how can you find your way? Somebody gotta teach me Kung Fu. So, I mean real Chinese Kung Fu, okay? Now, so, what does this mean? 这个马步 When you are firmly planted on what? On who you are. And knowing what you can be. Yes, unknown may be not seen yet by your physical eyes. But the unknown is already seen by a higher you. So when you firmly planted on who you are and what you can be, then you learn your way. You learn to move. Gary and Frida reminded me, we were having dinner last night. She goes, do you remember when I asked you, when were we, Dallas or we were in Salt Lake City. And she came to me and asked me, if there's one thing that I can share with her on how to build this business, what would that one thing be? Did I say it right? Or what does that one word be? One word. She says, if there's one word to describe on how to build this business, what would that one word be? Thank you for reminding me last night. You know what that one word is? That one word really ties into the essence of what finding the way is. That one word is called grace. In all that you do, in all that you are, you gotta have grace. When you flow and move with life, there's grace. This world, whether you believe it or not, grace is already here. Maybe at times, our eyes can't see it. Our hands seemingly cannot touch it, but it's there. Have the courage to find your way, just like a little Kung Fu girl. Next time, I'm gonna show up as a Kung Fu panda. Because as you're willing and brave enough to go find your way, you're gonna meet your tribe. You're gonna meet your community. You're gonna meet your guides. And your guides may not come to you in a physical form. It will come to you in different ways. For many years in my entrepreneur career, when I was down and out, there was one person's voice that inspires me. It was something about his voice was so soothing. And he was a legendary, he was one of the top world speakers. I couldn't afford to go to his classes, but I could afford to buy a cassette tape. And now it really shows age when you buy a cassette tape. Back in those days at Barnes & Noble, it was $20 cassette tape. And I would take this cassette tape and I would play it over and over and over. His name is Les Brown. Les would say, "You gotta be hungry." And I would say to Les, in my dream, in my world, I would say, "Les, I am finished. Please show me the way." And you know what? Fast forward, some 15, 20 years later, I had the blessing and the pleasure and the honor of sharing the stage with Mr. Les Brown. Now, Les is a dear friend of mine. Les, I'm sure you can hear my name. I'm sure you can hear my call, not my name. So, having the courage in finding that way, your community, your tribe will show up in different ways. What is the reward for going on this journey? The reward of going through this journey. You know what all that is? Yes, I had the blessing of making millions of dollars. Accumulating toys and jewelries and cars and bags, and now I don't even wear any of them. Shoes. You don't see me wearing any jewelries these days, do you? You don't see me wearing any heels these days anymore. I love collect. People that know me closely, they know that I love to collect scarves. Every time I buy a scarf, I say, you know what? I only got one neck, But above and beyond all that, the ultimate reward for walking the way, to finding the way, is to break the illusion, to break the identification of who you think you are. This thing called the mind. Where does the mind exist? In our body, there's no mind, it's just a brain. Mind is a programming. Mind's a set of programming, an identity that we identify ourselves with. But when you're willing to walk that journey, you're gonna break that illusion. The mind is an illusion. And when you do that, when you have your success, quote unquote, what would you do? Most people, when they become successful, they go, okay, great, I'm retired, I have a lot of money. Think about this, my fellow Chinese people. 赚到钱的人，很多所谓成功的人，怎么样啊？好了，我退休啊，或者是环游世界，大吃大肉，怎么大菜大肉 ？How do you say that？ 大吃大喝。哇，好像 I sound like really good Chinese。大吃大喝。My goodness, I have no English accent。大吃大喝。How's my Chinese？ 讲得准不准？大吃大喝。I learned in certain Chinese Mandarin, at the end of that word, you're gonna curl your tongue. 大吃大喝 meaning like big eat and big drink. Most people when they become successful, 就很牛的样子，成功了，鼻子都看不到人了，会不会？过去传统的成功是不是这样子？成功了，they can't see nobody. But true success is not about, like Samson talked about that quote. True success is not what you got, but what you do with it. You heard it here today, Dr. Fred, Tina Williams, Frida, and Gary. Many people in this room, Juan, D'Amico, all the people, you. When you have your success in your space, you want to take that things that you received. You want the blessing, the wisdom, the elixir, and come back and return with the elixir. Why? For much a greater impact. Most people when they have the success, they say, you know what, traditional business. 好了，我成功了，我退休了，拜拜。And yes, there are many things we could do in this world. The key thing is to be willing to come back. Why? As you return with the elixir, you're gonna have masteries of yourself. Here, I'm gonna play with our name called 3. The 3 masteries. First, is physical wellness. You know, learning to how your lifestyle, what Dr. Fred talked about, what Dr. Dan will talk about, how through lifestyle, through supplement, you become well, you become better. These testimonials that you heard, this lady from Bangkok, the lady, Nina from Hong Kong, Caroline, people from different places, different part of the world, sharing on what the product may impact their lives, physical wellness. Second, as you go embark on this journey, you're going to learn from people who have had success in this business. They are willingly, open-heartedly to teach you, to share with you how to become successful, so that you will take your journey onto achieving financial wellness. So those are the first two steps, the first two masteries. And ultimately, the third mastery is called spiritual wellness. A lot of people in this world go, oh, spiritual, what religion are you? I am not talking about any religion. I'm talking about spirituality. What is spiritual wellness? Spiritual wellness to me, it is a journey to become your best self. How you become your best self, you've got to be willing to walk that journey. That journey might, that form of your best self, that journey might come in different forms and shapes and ways. But when you're willing to embark that, just like a little girl with a cape on, you can become the best version of yourself. 31 years ago, when I was 28 years old, if you were to ask me to speak on stage to talk about my dreams and my goals, if you were to tell me that I could be a multi-millionaire, if you were to tell me that I could own this beautiful properties and have a ranch and a home and all this stuff, 31 years ago when I was unemployed, I wouldn't be able to phantom those ideas. But when you're brave enough to walk that, the best version of me, the best representation, are not my homes, are not my jewelry, are not my bags, not my cars. Those are all material. When I check out of this world, I can't take anyone with me, nor do I want to. When I walk out of this body, I will say, adios, goodbye. Have a great life, and really to wake up. So, the best version of yourself, every day we can be better. I am learning and growing every single day as a human being. I have friends in this room right now that we have been friends for 31 years. I have friends that are in this room that we've been together in this entrepreneurial journey for 20 years. And I also have met new friends of whom I just met today. You know, I think it's a very good indication. Once you walk that life, if you're able to keep your friendship for 30-somewhat years, I think it speaks volume. And I'm so grateful to have my friend Ken right here. 31 years. Ken, can you stand up, please? And I will close with this. I will close with this. This is a story that was really near and dear to my heart. Talk about our 31-year friendship. We talk about going on a journey. When I was on this entrepreneurship journey, the first company I worked with, that's when I met Ken. Ken was living in Hawaii. Many people in America call Hawaii is paradise. And yet Ken had 3 jobs as a waiter in Honolulu. And so I met Ken in my first platform, and I would travel there, I would do meetings there, and we'll be like doing meetings everywhere, on a tour bus, when we went out of place to do meetings, instead of renting a hotel room, I would do meeting on the beach. And then with no paper flew away because the wind, we would draw a compensation plan on the sand. Then the first company that we're working with went belly up. I lost everything. I went to Hawaii once a month, and I actually moved up to San Francisco to build my business. When that company went belly up, I had nothing. I moved back to LA. By that time, Ken has already moved back to LA. And I had no place to stay. My car, I had no car. So, in the beginning, in the entrepreneurship in the beginning, you spend more than what you made. Well, that was me. I lost my car, no house, no place to stay. Ken says, sis, stay with me. You can have my bedroom. I said, no, I will not take your bedroom. I will sleep on the couch. And I would borrow Ken's car, because I have no car. I borrowed Ken's car, I drive him off to work. When he was at work, I would take that car, I would go out there and build my dream. I would go and find my way. I was hunkered down. I would go and find my way. And today, Ken actually owns the biggest business furniture company in Los Angeles, in Southern California. We kind of went separate ways in business. He decided to go on his entrepreneur journey in the business world. Had done it very well. But now this time around, when Ken saw my journey of who I was, what we're able to do with a Google Collective, Ken says, you know what? He's not putting business on autopilot. He decided to join us. So thank you, Ken, for 31 years of friendship. Just to show you the quality of people in this room, besides what you met and whom you've met. Those of you that are sitting here, how many of you see the Wow Book? The Wow Book that you're looking at? We actually have the designer that designed the Wow Book in this room. That's Ken's partner, Ryan. Would you all give Ryan a big round of applause? Ryan, stand up, please. Ryan, come on, stand up. Thank you, Ryan. Incredibly talented artists. They are doing all that not for a fee. They want to contribute. How many of you liked the PowerPoint that you saw, the new PowerPoint that you saw? We have, it's interesting how Malaysia have. We have an extremely talented graphic designer too as well. Ryan, you're extremely talented too. The next graphic designer who designed our PowerPoint, and I think designed some other stuff for us. This gentleman actually is a great designer, worked for a very well-known studio in Hollywood. He's taking photographs. He's a photographer of some of the most well-known sports authorities. And he was born here in Malaysia, but lived in the States for many years. And he's in the room. Can we all give a big round of applause for Sui? Thank you. I really want you to both thank Ryan and Sui. They could have made a lot of money doing this kind of work. But they say, no, we don't want to take a penny. That's our way of contributing. For many of you that were on this tour with us, you saw some of the talent that happened. See, we know how to do business. We know how to do life. And we know how to party. So those of you that were in Hong Kong, you heard some different singers, different talents. Incredible. So if you're new here, we want to welcome you to this global community. You might not know what kind of impact you're doing, but I can share this with you. Just having your presence here in this room, and just having your presence in this world, you are making that impact. So we look forward to have you with us, to continue on this incredible movement of proactive wellness, of the three masteries: physical wellness, financial wellness, and